Hey everyone, it's Nathan again. Thanks for joining me. I got a quick little video for you guys today. And what we're going to be talking about is negative patient outcomes. And specifically by negative, I mean patients that unfortunately expired in the ED or elsewhere in the hospital. And the reason why I bring this up is because as we start to focus more and more on key metrics and data and other things that are centered around quality and making sure that we're getting it right as EMS professionals, there are a few things that we need to make sure that we are doing correctly. And this infographic, I believe, kind of highlights that. So this was NEMSIS data from 2014 through 2016. And I filtered the data down to just the disposition of death. So that means that someone that completed the report indicated that there was an actual disposition. So there's a disposition that was completed and there is a primary impression, and that's important. So when you look at these numbers, you're probably going to say, well, there had to have been more than just that many outcomes. There probably were. They just simply they weren't indicated in the data set. So with that being said, there was something that I would expect, which is that cardiac arrest did lead the pack as far as the types of patients that expired inside of the ED, and they were up there as far as the types of patients that later on did expire inside of the hospital. But something that was a bit alarming was the primary impression of not recorded or not available, or one of the other nots was picked so frequently, which leads to show that maybe part of the challenge that we still have in EMS is the understanding of the appropriateness of the primary impression and the documentation, and some of the concern about primary impression versus the ICD diagnostic code, and this misconception about whether or not we are diagnosing versus our impression as a healthcare professional. And so bad data can actually, I believe, kind of alter a lot of things. A prime example of this is sepsis. So we know that sepsis is something that can be documented as a primary impression, but a lot of times paramedics will kind of document maybe a fever or respiratory distress or a UTI or one of other number of things, and then go on to document that they believe the patient is septic. And then they don't necessarily choose a primary impression of sepsis. They may even indicate when they call the report that they believe the patient is sepsis, call a sepsis alert, but they don't choose the primary impression of sepsis. So there still needs to be some work done as far as standardizing how we document and the quality of data that we're putting in. And I believe that sharing information like this can kind of help draw attention to this. So as we start to grasp and wrap our hands around how we're going to deal with measuring quality in EMS, I think we also need to make sure that we don't lose sight and forget about the quality of the documentation. So I'll make sure that I share this infographic with you guys. Feel free to check it out. Leave any thoughts, comments, suggestions, tips, and feedback that you have. Thanks for your time.